Thank you all for tuning in. This is Iman, and
Selena.
together we make you plus happy. Each week we bring you someone who challenges us to define success and happiness on our own terms with a dose of laughter.
Remember to like and subscribe to the You Plus Happy podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram at You Plus Happy.
Hey, Selena.
Hey, Mon.
How was your week? Anything you want to share with our listeners?
It was good. So this was a couple weeks ago. I watched Temptations. I thought it was a movie, but it's a series.
Okay.
The group, The Temptations, my girl.
Okay. Because I'm like, there's a movie called Temptations too.
Iman looked a little confused, y'all. See. So I watched that movie and it really stuck with me. I saw it, back in the day, but I didn't realize it took them 10 years to get a hit single and all these trials and tribulations. And it's just really well, it was a reminder of if you stick with things and you really feel it, it will work. So I just keep replaying that in my mind, their success. And then they were, of course, a huge group, and they had way more hits than I realized. And I don't know, it's just been in the back of my mind all the time. Dang, you just gotta stick with stuff. It took them a long time, and they were broke.
Mm-hmm.
They just stuck with it. They stuck beside it. That's what you gotta do. How was your week?
Mine was good. Wait, really quick on the Temptations. I love that movie. Me and my cousin used to watch it weekly growing up. But it makes me think of a podcast that I was listening to just this week. And he said in the podcast, he's like, oh, it's taken me my whole life to become an overnight success. And I'm like, that's so true. Because a lot of times we don't know about it until they're already on their way up.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good point to keep in mind.
And you heard this show that, I don't know if you heard about it in Australia, but it took off, Squid Game.
Mm-mm.
So this show is a big hit over here, and it's on Netflix. And I heard this guy talking about it. He's not a part of the show. He was just talking about it. It's blown up. But the guy who wrote it 14 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And it's just blowing up now, and it's on its first season. So that was just more confirmation. Things take time. But yeah, it took them 10, 14 years to take off. And it's just it's just a great reminder. Just keep going.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love it too.
So how about your week? Give me the skinny.
Not much is really happening in my life at the moment. We're back open. I know that's a constant trend of closing and then opening. But I did sign up for a 6-week fitness challenge that starts on Monday. Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. So I went and had the introduction, and we did a fitness test, and I almost died, but I made it through. Still sore, and it was 3 days ago. But now I'm excited to, I guess, start my fitness journey, but also have, so it's 10 people in the challenge. And basically, if you win it, they will pay you for losing weight and getting toned and getting in shape. I don't think I'm going to be there, but I think it's going to be good to just be around people and have that encouragement and motivation. So I'm excited to get started. And yeah, we'll see where I'm at in 6 weeks.
Keep us posted and go in with the mindset you are going to win. You don't know.
Well, I know, but I think that the further you are away from your goal, the more you're able to lose.
Right.
So I'm just being realistic.
Right. I was thinking, I want you to be optimistic, but also realistic. That's fair.
I'm still, I'm still motivated, and it was just good energy and good vibes when I went. So
yeah. I was she's tiny, so it's not.
I'm not tiny, but I'm not super far from my goal.
Delusional. Okay, but yes, I'm happy for you and I can't wait. I know you're going to stick with it and see some results.
I'll bring my guns out at the end of the 6 weeks.
Ooh, can't wait to see. And it's going to be warm there.
I know. By the summer, I'll be ready.
Welcome to the gun show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I can't quite lift my arms at the moment, but in 6 weeks I'll be able to.
Consequences of your work. See, good ones.
Right. So on that note, who do we have on the show this week?
This week, we have Dr. Eugene Holloman, who is a former two-time all-conference running back at James Madison University. Growing up, he had aspirations of playing professional football after college, but after 2 significant knee surgeries before his senior year, his plans were derailed. After graduating with a degree and pursuing a major simple enough to keep him eligible, but that honestly disinterested him, Eugene quickly regretted not taking school more seriously. While some of his college buddies were off to corporate careers or entrepreneurship, Eugene spent the next 4 years in his parents' home discovering his passions and what career path he wanted to pursue. Eugene enrolled in a master's program to pursue his MBA while working as an elementary school tutor and sales rep for a high-end suit retailer. While not making enough money to pay for school, he eventually landed an entry-level job at a Fortune 500 healthcare company. Soon thereafter, he applied and was hired to the company's leadership development program. Eugene is now a corporate compliance manager for the same company and is currently pursuing his doctoral degree at Regent University, which as of this episode, he has graduated. He credits Regent University for helping him discover his passion for writing within just his first couple of semesters of attendance. While writing numerous research papers on leadership, Eugene decided to write his first fictional novel, The Athlete Student, freshman year. If you're on our YouTube page, you can see a copy of it. His goal is to reach as many student athletes and youth as possible in hopes that this story will benefit them, as Eugene believes having such an inspiring read would have been highly impactful when he was in high school. And without further ado, we welcome Dr. Eugene Holloman. All right, here we go. So, how did you get started and what you do?
When you say get started, you mean like as an author or?
Any way you want to go.
All right. So I'll answer it in the perspective of an author. So I never wanted to write books. Like I didn't even read books when I was in school. Like that was the least important thing to me. In our household, like if you had to read a book, that was because you were on punishment, right? And so, you know, writing books was so fun, so unfun to me. I didn't anticipate doing that. I did, however, anticipate playing in the NFL. Like that was my dream. That was my goal. And so that was most of my friends' goals. And so I was one of the few to actually go to college in my circle of friends, actually one of the only ones. And I wasn't the best out of my circle of friends, but I was the one that stuck with it and persevered through all the obstacles, right? And so to make a long story short, after my junior year in college at James Madison, I was all conference. Scouts were like coming to see me practice and calling my parents and say like I really have a shot. And my head got like really swole. I was like, man, I'm close to fulfilling the dream I had since I was 5 years old. They were selling my number 14 jersey in the bookstore. I was like the man on campus, and I'm not trying to like say that as in I'm bragging, but I'm just trying to, you know, give you guys the reality and paint the picture. And going into my senior year, all I had to do was duplicate what I did my junior year, my senior year. And we played the University of North Carolina. I'll never forget it. Packed house. I remember taking a pitch to the right, only to be greeted by like a 6'6", 235-pound defensive end. And so naturally, you know, I planted my right foot in the ground to change my direction to the left. My whole body went left aside from my right leg, and I ended up tearing majority of the ligaments in my knee. And I was devastated. I majored in the easiest major James Madison had to offer because, school wasn't important. And I came back home to Virginia Beach, and I went through 2.5 years of like deep depression where it got to the point that I had suicidal thoughts, because my identity was so wrapped up into Eugene Holloman, the football player. I never knew anything outside of it. So suddenly everything just is stripped away, and I just had no sense of self-worth. I had no sense of accomplishing any goals. I didn't have any because the one goal I did have was gone. And I remember looking for my father's gun because I just didn't want to live anymore. Think about it, right? I had this dream since I was 5 years old, and I am 21 years old. And so from 5 to 21, I only thought about one thing. I only worked towards one thing. And now that thing that was over, I couldn't live with it anymore. And I couldn't find my father's gun. I mean, I searched high, everywhere. I knew he had one, but he must have been really good at hide and seek in his day because I could not find it. And luckily, I just broke down in tears, and I called a friend. I was just like, man, I'm dealing with this. It was the first time I ever admitted that I was dealing with suicidal thoughts, because Facebook was still a thing then, and I'll still be posting on Facebook, making my life look like I'm good, like I'm still cool, I'm still having fun, I'm still in the club, acting like I got money, but that was so far from the truth. I was really just dying and struggling inside, and my friend ended up walking me out because therapy wasn't a thing in the Black household then, right? We won't go into therapy. Nobody really talked about a therapist. Now, like, is more prevalent now. And so he called me, 2-3 times a day and just checked on my mental health, my well-being, and I kind of walked myself out of that depressive mind state. I ended up getting an entry-level job at Anthem as a healthcare organization that I currently work for now. And I remember someone telling me, the same thing that you did in football, use it outside in your real life, right? It's the hard work, is the getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and just getting after it, right? It's when somebody push you down, you get right back up. It's outworking the person next to you. It's just so many intangibles that I didn't know that I had been an athlete, that was transferable to the outside world. And I did that. And we had this leadership development program where thousands of applicants apply. I'm talking about from Stanford, from Duke to LSU, from Virginia Tech. And they only allowed 10 people, 10 members in a year. And out of the 1,000 of applicants, I was one of the 10 that got accepted. And I met one of my best friends who was also a member of the leadership development program. And he was like someone I would never thought I would hang out with, because he's a bit corny, right? All my friends are kind of like a little gangster, right? They got a little thuggish edge to them. And he was so far from it. But he sat me down one day. He sat me down one day and he was like, let's write goals. I was like, man, I'm not about to write no goals. And he kept kind of bothering me, like, let's sit down and write goals. And one of the goals that he had, that he thought I should put down on my list, was to go back to school. And so I went back to school, got my master's, and maybe 2 years passed. From then, I accumulated student loan debt. And he was like, man, you should go back to school and get your doctorate. That way you could pay back your student loans from your master's. They can be deferred, and you can work out a plan, have the company pay for your doctorate, and you just continue to make payments in your master's. And I was like, oh, that's actually a good idea. And so I started my doctoral program at Regent. And I know I'm long-winded here, I'm sorry. I started my doctoral program at Regent. And I remember my first paper, it was like a 20-page leadership paper, and I got an 89 on it. And I'm like a C plus B minus student, to be honest, definitely when it comes to writing. And my professor was like, Eugene, I think you got like a really good voice in your writing, and I think you're a phenomenal writer. And she could have been lying to me, I don't know. But I was like, all right, since she think I'm gonna write and I gotta write these long papers, let me write about something that I want to write about. And that's where the athlete student book series and the beginnings of me being a author all started. That was so long. I'm sorry. I didn't cut it how you wanted, but yeah, that was the journey.
Well, you answered all the questions. See you
Yeah.
later.
It's been nice. No.
Great. Summed it up.
Um, no, I guess first off, just I appreciate how open you are with just sharing your journey. And, a lot of people have been there, but don't admit to it and wouldn't go on a platform and kind of share their lowest point. So I appreciate that. I guess on your journey, what was that moment? It sounds like it was a transition, but what was that moment when you were like, all right, I need to kind of snap out of this depression and there's something other than football for me? Like, was there a turning point that happened for you?
It actually was. So everybody in my family was like dependent on me. It was like when we make it to the NFL, we're gonna do this, right? Almost counting my dollars before I actually, capture them. But I have an older brother, one of my best friends, one of the smartest guys that I know, but he was going through a very hard time. And this is right after I graduated, um, kind of before I started really getting in the middle of the depressive mind state in my depression. But my older brother committed armed robbery, and he was on a run from the police, about 4 to 5 months where no one could find him. And out the blue, he called me and he was like, man, I can't do this anymore, meaning that he can't continue to run from the police. I'd never been in that position, but he was saying how exhaustive that was, that you got to stay out the public eye. Anytime you see a police, you ducking and hiding. He was just like, man, I give up. And so I called the detective, because the detectives were kind of staking out my house because they thought I would lead them, or my brother would come back, and that's where they arrest him, because they had my brother's photo and name all over the news. And so when I called the detective, he said, he'll give me a couple hours and they're going to come get him. I believe this was like a late Sunday night. And I picked my brother up. I take him to Applebee's of all places, because I was like, man, it's going to be a long night for you. Let's get you something to eat. And I remember being in Applebee's, and my brother was considered armed and dangerous. And so since I called the detective, I guess they put an alert out or something. But I remember seeing so many undercover just watching us at every move until they actually captured him, because they just didn't know. I can call the detective and say he's going to turn himself in, but why would they believe me? So they were just doing their due diligence. And I remember taking my brother. I dropped him off. Didn't drop him off. I took him to see his 8-month-old daughter at the time, and that was the last time he seen her. He kissed her goodbye. And we went to my aunt's house, and my brother showered and everything. We prayed, and two Virginia Beach detectives came and got him. And from that moment, he was charged and sentenced 30 years. And so life really started to get real to me. Like, if you don't take life serious, that was my mindset. If you don't take life serious, all the talents and gifts that you have will be wasted. And so my brother was like a mathematician, where I struggled in math growing up, but he can compute numbers in his head like a genius. But that was for naught because of his choices and the consequences that happened afterwards. And so that moment really changed my life, right? Hate to kind of use his story, but it did. It affected me to the point where I was just like, man, I only got one life. Let me make the best. Let me make the best of it, because the decisions he made affected his daughter, where she now calls another man dad. You know what I mean? Mm. And so, it changed everything for me. I just started all right, let me make good decisions first and foremost. Because a lot of people, no matter how talented they are, no matter what they can achieve in life, if you continue to make bad decisions, you're gonna ultimately pay for them. And so that was the first thing. Is like, let me make good decisions, and then let me treat people right, and then let me just do things that I normally wouldn't do. I don't care if people call me corny or lame. I got out of that what I thought people would think of me, and that kind of just changed my whole mindset. I'm sorry. I'm gonna shorten my answers. I'm gonna shorten my answers.
You're here to talk.
I be rambling.
But Iman and I are here every week, so you talk. Not we. They heard enough of us. Quick follow-up question: how did you deal with having that pressure from your family of like, you're supposed to be the man, and then kind of losing I guess, you know, when that wasn't going to be your future anymore, how was that shift? How did you deal with that?
It was tough. I had a college sweetheart, and she was like an IT major. She graduated making like 60,000 a year, and that was, you know, that was pretty good. I graduated, couldn't find a job making $11 an hour, and so it was that, and then it was all that we talk, and then after, you know, I was, you know, done playing football, it was what you are going to do. So it wasn't no we anymore. It was we when everybody can jump on my back and go along with the ride. And so I noticed that language shifting. I noticed how people didn't call my phone as much or text me as much. And so, yeah, I had an identity crisis. I had to figure out who I wanted to be. And that was the toughest part, right? You are this person, people put you on this pedestal, and then then all of a sudden they can walk past you without batting an eye. And that identity piece, it was important for me to figure out, all right, what do I want to do? What do I want? What do I want my life to look like? But that was the toughest part. But it made it easier for me as I took this journey alone. I didn't have to please anybody else. I wasn't making decisions to please anybody else besides myself. And it grew me as a man. It really grew me as a man because I was accountable to myself and not to everyone else. And I had to wake up and look in the mirror and be okay with who I was. And you know, looking back, it was tough, but looking at where I am now, it was probably one of the best things that has happened to me. If I would have like made it to the NFL and I got a contract and I wasn't going to get drafted, you know, first through the fifth, I was going to be a late round draft pick, probably making the minimum what they pay, maybe like 200,000, but that 200,000 would have seemed like it was 20 million, where I would have been just giving so much of myself trying to help everybody else that I would have been worse, because I would have felt like I had to save and take everybody with me. And that money doesn't go that far. And I probably would have went through so much more depression trying to do that, that I wouldn't have been able to take care of myself financially, because the financial literacy wasn't there then, like it was now. I would just squandered everything, trying to make everybody happy. And you know what I mean? So when everybody left, even if that would have happened, when the money would have ran out, they would have left anyway.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's no way that you can keep up with that. It's so. Yeah.
And you would have ran yourself in the hole trying to help these people who turn their back on you as soon as you don't have anything. So it was like good that you didn't. They got to go away when you didn't have anything, versus bleeding you dry and then being like, deuces, like that's not. And I also love that you didn't become. I know you said you had an identity crisis and you had to go through that and reassess, but you didn't turn bitter and being like the world's against me, or because I know that's tough. People that you think are in your corner, that's not the language you use, but you think they're in your corner, you think they have your back, and then when everything's not great, you're gone. And that sounds super hurtful. Not to like try to throw salt in the wound. You're fine. I'm like, that hurt, right? But I'm just glad that like you didn't turn bitter, because it's all about perspective, and we have a choice of how we respond to things. So you talked about a lot of challenges along the journey, but what's been the biggest one?
And me and my wife, we are foster parents too. So it's been a lot thrown to me, but like a friend of mine says, you got broad shoulders for a reason, right? And so I take a lot of responsibility, and I take it serious. I think the biggest challenge though is what everybody is facing with COVID, because COVID happened. I wasn't able to kind of walk the stage after I graduated, but I had so much momentum with my first book, right, where, you know, it's being picked up by the local news, and I was selling thousands of copies. But I had this I was a Master P fan, not just the music, but the man himself. And he used to say how he used to sell his CDs out the back of his trunk. And so I put all my books in the back of my trunk and I go to anyone and I hand them my business card, give them my elevator pitch. And for some reason, it was just magnetic where people were like, yeah, I'm a support. I saw a lot of books just face to face. But when COVID happened, I mean, it just went dry because I couldn't approach anyone. And it was built for me to have that interaction with my customers, I guess is what I can call them, right? And just being, and I'm naturally an introvert. So when I wrote the book, I knew it wasn't going to sell itself. I had to force myself to really go out. I would go to Barnes and Nobles on my lunch break. I was picking up speaking engagements and selling books that way. And when COVID happened, I just to my natural state of like being an introvert. And it's been hard to try to get back to where I was. Because it did take a lot for me to get out that shell. Like I like being home. I can be home and be comfortable. I don't have to be around people. Actually being around people and talking a lot. I know you guys can't tell because I'm rambling, but it drains me. Like I get drained where like I don't have to talk to anyone. And so COVID is probably the toughest challenge, but I can't get but so mad because everybody's kind of dealing with that. And, some people deal with it harder than others. And I'm one that, I have seen the effect that it has took on just what I built up inwardly. And then just the natural things that it has affected people with.
Two quick things. How did you get the speaking engagements?
Introducing myself. Like I would just put myself out there and I would just tell them why I wrote this book, and I make it as passionate. I want people to really feel my heart, right? I want people to understand that. And two, I didn't even want to write the book. I Googled, I was like, it has to be a book out here about this. And it wasn't. I was like, well, I guess I'm tasked to do it. And so I wore it everywhere I go. I can be out to dinner with like friends and family, or even like a date night with my wife, and I make it a point to go to somebody, hand them my business card and give them my elevator pitch. That's how serious I was. And so that led to when people can kind of feel your passion, they're like, well, let me give this guy a shot. And so I'll get these engagements, and then it's up to me to kind of like kill it. And so they can have, positive feedback, and that leads to something else, to someone else is in the audience. They're like, oh, okay, we can have this guy speak. And so, yeah, that was the most part. Some of these things were just, it wasn't like I was looking for it. I would just get an email and say, are you available? And I would just go. I didn't turn anything down.
Okay. And your elevator pitch, how long was it? What is it? Can you share?
It's like 30. So I was really good at it, but I struggle with it now. But I'll hand somebody my business card, or even if I had a book, or if I had the book, it's better. Because you give them the book, right? And you look them in the eyes, and I introduce myself. My name is Eugene Holloman. I'm the author of the Athlete Student Book Series, which is a fictional novel about a young kid who's a phenomenal athlete. All he ever wanted to do in his life was play professionally. Before he can do that, it's college. So it takes you through his freshman, sophomore, and now junior year, how you balance academics, athletics, parties, peer pressure, coaches, teammates, drugs, alcohol, the things that happens on a college campus that no one really talks about. In the inner city, young kids find their gift of athletics at an early age, as early as 5 years old. And they're not careful. They nourish that one gift. They go to college. They choose the easiest major, thinking that they're going to make it. But if they don't, they look back on their life and say, dang, what the heck I'm going to do with my life now? And we see it time and time again. So I wrote this book to help kids understand the importance of taking advantage of athletics and not just relying on taking advantage of their education and not just relying on the athletic ability. So how long was that? About 30 seconds or so?
I'm sold. I don't know.
Yeah. So.
All right, I'll buy one.
Yeah. So it just worked. But I had a lot of people who just cut me off, and like, and I get that comes along with it. But for the most part, it was really positive.
Yeah. I feel like there's so much, but with your book, what made you, so I know that you said it's fictional, but it sounds like it's a lot based on kind of your experience. So is it loosely based on just your experience, or is there a reason you say it's fictional, even though it seems like it kind of aligns with what you've gone through?
It is loosely based on my experiences, but I feel like it's a culmination of people I've seen on TV, former teammates, some friends. Like he's a hybrid of just so many different people. That's why when people can pick it up, they can identify with it, right? Because it's a piece of it's just a piece of a lot of different people, and it's some real life stuff. Like he takes you through, like, and he doesn't always make the best decisions. His name is Michael Tootie Mayberry. He goes by the name of Tootie, and he doesn't make the best decisions. Like you can feel him maturing right before your eyes, just like anybody else. I don't want him to be a hero. I want him to wear his flaws and take you through this thought process of a 18, 19, 20-year-old. And we make some like really bad decisions. And you'll see where it's going. And I think that's important for kids to know, like, man, these kids think about like doing such and such, but then in the end, you get to see the results from it. You get to see the consequences that he has to go through his decision making. And so I wanted him to be raw. I don't necessarily even want him to be liked, but he's going to be respected. And you get to respect his journey, the good, the bad, the ugly, because in the end, no human being walking this earth is perfect. We look at some people like, man, they have a good life, but we don't realize, man, for him to get there, for that person to get to where they are currently, you don't see the scars and the battles, the internal battles that they had to face, right? And so I think that is the pivotal part and the most important part of this character.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And then you brought up another thing, which I think is really, especially as a fellow introvert, I know how hard it is to put yourself out there, but just the idea of you using every opportunity to promote what you're doing, I think that's really hard to do. And Selena and I have talked about it in the past, where it's like, we're doing this, but then there's a lot of hesitation with telling people about what it is we're doing. So the fact that you're able to just go out there, meet complete strangers and be like, hey, this is me and this is what I'm doing. Like what motivated you or gave you that drive to just put yourself out there?
The worst thing they can do is like just say no or walk away from you, right? Not 9 times out of 10, I'm never going to see that person again, especially if they say no. And so I'm like, okay, whatever. And it's so hard. It's so uncomfortable for me to do even now. But I was like, man, the only way it's going to get out there is if I do it myself. No one is going to push your stuff like you can. And I realized that initially I thought if I wrote a book, everybody, would just come calling, but it wasn't the case. Like I had to do it. And it's a part of me, like this book, and even what you guys are doing, for you guys to do this consistently for however long you guys been doing it, it becomes a part of you, and it should be. And so if it's a part of you, you got to let other people know, because you just never know who you're going to interact with. You're going to never know who's going to give you that olive branch to take your stuff to the next level. And for me, I've met a lot of great people through this by just kind of being bold and kind of stepping out of my comfort zone. And so I used to have this trainer who used to say, make sure you are comfortable being uncomfortable. And I try to live by it. Like, I'm so uncomfortable. The people that I least want to introduce myself to, I force myself to do it. Like an older white gentleman who probably has no interest in what I have to say. I force myself to do it. And if he gives me 30 seconds of his time, great. And if he says, all right, man, I want to buy a book, I want to support you. Right. That's even better. And you just never know how somebody can connect with what you guys are doing, but it is going to take a level of faith and then an extra level of boldness to do so.
It sounds like the goal is bigger than the fear. Like that's like the kind of quote that's coming to my mind. Like, don't let fear paralyze you. Because I know, meaning mine, the first time I sent an email to someone I didn't know to be on the show, I was shaking, like I was sweating. And this is an email. This wasn't even in person.
Right.
I was like, oh my God, please be on our show. I read the email like 50 times. I read it out loud. But now it's like, it's still a little scary sometimes, but it's not as hard as that first one too. Did you find that in your pitches, or it was just like person by person? Like,
it's person by person. Like, I got to tell this story. And so I was sitting waiting to get a haircut in Virginia Beach in Town Center. I don't know if you guys kind of familiar with the area. And I'm just eating by myself. I'm an introvert. That's what I do. I eat by myself and I don't feel no way about it. And so I look at the bar and it's this guy. I'm like, he looks familiar. So I was like, all right, that's the person I'm going to give my card to. and it's Bill Bellamy, like
Oh,
the comedian.
yeah.
And so I hand my card to Bill Bellamy, and he's looking like he's interested in what I. It is a lot of people that I have gave that elevator pitch to who just like, dude, get out my face. You can tell in their eyes. And so
Yeah.
I can change my elevator pitch to end it in 10 seconds because I know this person is like, he's already looking at like, get out my face. Or you can tell when somebody's like, okay, okay. And so Bill stopped eating, and he was like really engaged what I had to say. And I gave him a book. He was like, hold on, I'm gonna put you on my Instagram. And I let him finish eating, and then we went outside, and he had his friend that he was with. They recorded it, like me just giving my elevator pitch, like the one I've been practicing over and over. And he put it on his Instagram, and it was like the greatest thing ever. And I'm just like, that part of just like going for it.
Yeah.
Like I just tell people, just go for it. Like this, you only got one opportunity in this. Like Selena, when you told me that you guys were gonna make it to Oprah one day, that's when I was like, okay, I got to get on this dang on podcast. I got to do it because is that like, all right, I can see the big picture. Right now I'm small, but you got a goal in mind, and I'm the same way. And I was like, okay, yep, you guys probably will be on Oprah one day, and I want to be a part of this. And when people can really just state their goals like that and continue to have action that backs it up, you just never know where it's going to go. And it is right. You just got to be willing to overstep being afraid. Because I was still shaking the whole time, Bill Bellamy. I was like, this is Bill Bellamy. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I was still, but I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was worth
It
it.
reminds me of that quote, or like it's very cliche, but like if you don't, how does it go? If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. This
Yeah.
sounds like you always are, you got a book with you got a business card with you, like you're ready for any opportunity. And I think that's so important. Because you never know. Like you didn't know Bill Bellamy was gonna be at the bar, but you were ready when he was, you know.
I had just ate like eggs and stuff. I was like, man, I ain't had no like mints or anything with me. I didn't want to get too close, but it was cool. It was cool. But I definitely was. I definitely was ready. And then when you have a goal in mind, I feel like you always are reminded, like, all right, this is what I'm supposed to do. Cause it's hard, man. I know you guys probably thought about like giving up, like, you know what I mean? I think about giving up all the time, but it's something that it always constantly reminds you of, like the bigger picture, the thing that whisper in your ear, like, don't give up, keep going. And so you reach those milestones along the way, and you know, like, all right, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Is that all it takes when you feel like you want to quit, is like just that whisper, or just comes to you? Because there's always, no matter what you're doing, it's those times where it's like, is this worth it? Like, so really, how do you push forward, push through that?
Um, yeah, just like, all right. Really for me, I stopped listening to a lot of music. Like I don't listen to music like I do. It's like self-development podcasts. And the people that I listen to, right, is always pushing forward. And when you hear their story of how they started, like the humble beginnings, it's like the same position that we are in, right? And it's the person that continues to do the small things day after day after day, 8 years, 10 years, that makes it. They're the one that can motivate and inspire a generation because they didn't quit. And so I don't want to look back when I'm 60 and say, man, I wish I would have. I wish I would have. I played arena league football, and you'll see like a lot of older guys still playing, right? And then you ask them their story. They play because they didn't have the opportunity to play college ball, and they made whatever mistake, and there's a lot of regret. And is when I realized, right, you got a small window, and the days that you miss, the days that you lay in bed and ready to quit, are days that you can get better, right? It's something that you can get better at. And so for me, it's like, all right, no matter how I feel, like just try, just keep on like pushing forward, and let's just see where we're gonna go at the end of this thing. We just don't know. But I don't want to be at that old age and say, I wish I did this. I regret doing that. Like that's miserable.
I love that so much. When you every day you lay in bed is a day you could get up and get better. I'm paraphrasing obviously, but I love that so much. So easy to lay in bed, like dang it. Who do you listen to real quick when you listen to these personal development podcasts?
Secret of Success is my favorite one. That's what what's the hip hop preacher Eric Thomas.
Mhm.
I talk about him all the time.
Yeah, Jamal King. I forget the other two, Carl and CJ, I believe. And so I listen to them the most. And then yeah, those just so many different things. And then I try to read just a lot of like self-development books. But I re-listen to their message the most out of any of the podcasts that are out there. Just because I can kind of relate to just the grind. Just the grind.
Yeah. Switching gears big time. What is something you hope people say about you when you're not in the room?
That's a good question. I was asked that question recently, and it changes. So different people are going to have a different outlook on me, right? People know me from college, and they know me as the playboy, and I get it, right? So they may have something different to say about me, or they see me now and be like, "I can't believe he's like this." Like I really didn't give my all in certain aspects of my life, like I wish I should have, right? But I don't know. I just wish people would say that, man, he was someone to. Man, I don't know. That's a good question. He is someone that I could show my son to say, like, all right, like this is someone that you could or should follow. And that kind of means a lot. Like I see a young kid and I know there's a lot of responsibility. So if they look up to me, like, I mean, I wear that with pride because it's not a lot of examples out here. And especially not one that, like, I'm not a celebrity or on TV, but just the average guy, right? And we can make like the average guy still can be cool and can still be someone that kids can look up to. And so that's probably one, is that, man, I would like my son to be similar to him. Is probably what I would want people to say.
Yeah. And I guess along your journey, did you have that person or people that you kind of looked up to that inspired you to keep going and motivated you?
I did, but it looked different, right? Like my uncle was a hustler, drug dealer, right? And I looked up to him at one point. But now that I look at it, I'm like, man, I want to take parts of that. I still want to have that hustle too. I just want to do it differently. Like I really hustle my books like I was like selling drugs or something like that's. I mean, I take parts of that. But parts of it is a lot of people I didn't look up to, and it wasn't until I got older and I started asking some of the people I looked up to be like my mentor, because I didn't know what like marriage looked like or healthy marriage looked like. And so I have more people that I look up to now than I did when I was a kid. And so I think that kind of explains just my different outlook on life. And I'm not limited to like a certain type of person. Like a lot of kids look up to a rapper, right? And we kind of take in their words. And so I have friends who are like pastors. I have friends who are entrepreneurs. I got a lot of different people that I can pull different stuff from, right? It's not just one person. And so I have it more now. I wish I had it when I was a kid, rather than like the typical like rapper or ball player. But I am thankful that I do have it now, and I want to be someone that kids can have that too, right? I want kids to be like, all right, yeah, this is someone that I can mold my life after, or I can look up to. I do wear that with pride, because that's a big one. You have this person that you look up to, and then they go to jail or they do something, and it's like, man, your hero is not who you thought they were. But I want somebody who's authentic, right? But also someone that like I can really look up to. I ain't saying they're perfect, but they're gonna be transparent with me, and I really get to understand the whys of what they did.
And even if you had that as a boy, do you think you would have recognized it? Because you're an adult and you have these people around you and you've been through a lot. So it's easier for you to see and you know what you need to now. It sounds like more so. But as a child, do you think even if those people, I don't know, it's just a random question, but even if you were around them, would you have looked up to them as a child?
Heck no,
That's
like
what
no, like
so it wouldn't have mattered if they
yeah,
were around.
yeah, that's true. Like I like really like I like young teenager, man, only thing that I really cared about was like the ladies and like hanging out with my friends and then sports. And I it was just so much more that I wish I was exposed to, but kind of going back just in the circle that I was with, I probably couldn't see any further than that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I was just saying like a side note, because yeah. But anyway, and also what I'm hearing throughout too is you have these skills that you're transferring over. So like when you say you play football and getting up and early and blah, blah, then you apply that to when you couldn't do that anymore, you applied that to other areas of your life. And then when you saw I forgot, your uncle or your cousin who was hustling, like selling drugs, you, instead of selling drugs, you just hustled your book. So I love that you're taking these, you just pull, like you said, you pull what you need, again, paraphrasing, but you
mhm.
pull what you need and you apply it to what you want. And I love that like mindset. And I just wanted to point it out because I love that. Like,
Thank you.
you're welcome. And that's for the listeners too. Like we can apply those
Right.
skills to other things. Um, so our whole show is about success and being happy. What does success mean to you? How do you define it? And this is a two-parter. And when are you the happiest?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. I heard this statement on a podcast, and I was like, "This is true." Success, he said, success is the threat. Success is a threat to success, right? Meaning that you can be successful, and you try to rest on that success, and thinking that it's going to carry itself everywhere you go, but that's not true. And I was thinking back to my junior year in college, where I was the most successful ever playing athletics, right? Where I was all conference, where I was, my billboard in Harrisonburg, Virginia, my number 14 jersey in the bookstore, everybody knew my name. And I was resting on that, right? I didn't prepare my senior year the same way, or I didn't work as hard. I was like, I'm already here. It's just gonna follow me, right? I'm gonna do the same thing I did before. Like it's like success is just a stamp that it's just imparted in you. It's like a necklace or something, right? But that's not true. Like success is like when you get there and you're on that mountaintop, you still have to go and work just as hard, if not harder, because something is always behind you trying to take you off that mountaintop. And so that's how I look at success now. It's like if I accomplish something, right? It's something that's trying to pull me down and take away that success. Like being successful and say, "Oh, I'm successful and I'm gonna always be that way." That's the threat to you being even more successful. And I understand that now. So it's not like, oh, I can achieve something and I'm a success. Right? It's something, it's a threat, it's something that can happen that can pull you down. And that's how we see a lot of people who so-called made it, right? We see someone who won an MVP one year, and then or they get a big fat contract, or they get the job that they want, and you look, a couple years from now, they no longer have it because they think, all right, I don't have to work as hard anymore. I made it, and it's a lot of work to get to the mountaintop, but to stay there though, to stay at that mountaintop, it's even more work. And so that's like my motto now is like, man, if I make it, I can't get like big chested to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm here now. Like I understand that it's gonna take even more work for me to stay here. And so if I ever, got on Oprah or something like that, I can't just rest on it, right? I got to be more creative. I gotta do something more, and that's my mindset. And so sometimes that takes away your happiness, and is you got to balance, because to go into the second part of the question, because you can always be striving to want more or to do better. But sometimes when I reflect too, and I look around at some of the stuff that I have accomplished, it does bring me joy, and that does make me happy for the moment. but I try to balance the two, where it's like, all right, let me stop reflecting and get back to work, or let me stop working and reflect. And so it's a juggling act between the two, but I think they're both are equally important.
I love that so much. And I was just thinking about that. Like everything in life is about what have you done for me lately? And I think about it as in like body weights, because I'm like, oh, I drank a gallon of water on Monday. Well, sweetie, it's Friday and your body doesn't care.
Right.
Like you can't rest on that. You ate good on you ate right on Monday. Okay, well, we're past Monday. We're not getting Monday back. So I think about that a lot. Like, and that's just a quick, easy, funny example I use for myself. But I think about that like it never ends, but it's good because we're always growing and evolving, and who wants to feel, I don't know, complacent? And then if you sit on that, it's like 10 years, like he's like 10 years ago I was on Oprah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody's like here
a lot.
So somebody else went on Oprah since then.
Yes.
Exactly.
I guess switching gears a little bit, and you talked about it earlier, just around kind of your friendship circle growing up and then how it's kind of expanded as you've gotten older. But what qualities or traits do people have to be in your inner circle?
I think loyalty is one. I have to tell this story, and it's one that has affected me deeply. When I was in college, I was dating this young lady, and I had a friend, or I thought was like a friend, like a brother. I would say he was like a brother to me. And the two of them were dating behind my, like they were messing around behind my back, right? And so that affected me to the point where I really do have a small circle. Like if I call you my friend and I call you my brother, like I really mean it. Like I'm calling to check up on you. Like I'm a FaceTime you because I want to look into your eyes, like and really see what's going on. And Selena, you probably know I FaceTime, you know what I mean? Like friends, you know, and because it's that important. Like friendship is that important. And I only have, you know, I would say no more than 10 solid friends, because it just means that much. But loyalty has to be one where it's like, even if you're mad at me, even if I make you the maddest, right? You don't go back and tell somebody else something I told you in confidence. That's loyalty, right? You know what I mean? And so that's probably number one. And secondly, I just want my friends to like try. Don't be like around me and you not trying to be better at whatever it is, because that's how we get stuck. That's how we get stuck in that rat race. And so one of the things I try to preach now is like, man, generational wealth, or not having any regrets. And so someone who kind of pushes themselves to be better. I compete a lot with my friends, and not in an envious way, right? I compete like if my friends going on vacation or they got a job, I'm like, man, like what can I do to get, you know what I mean? Like it motivates me. The only reason I went for a promotion at my company is because my best friend got a promotion. Right, not to be like trying to like stay like equal with him, but he motivates me to like, all right, am I being too complacent? Can I reach another level? And so I want friends who are loyal, and I want friends who strive to just be better, because if they strive to be better, it should elevate the group. Everybody should want to be better, and it's pretty much that simple. Yeah.
Water rises to meet its own level, right?
Yeah.
I cut you off, Iman. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying I love that.
Me too. And one thing again, like, how did you not get bitter? How do you still trust people? Oh, he laughed. He bitter.
No, I had a call. I had to decline it on my iPad.
Because I hear what you described earlier, as far as people kind of falling away when you couldn't do the football. You couldn't play football, and then the best friend and girlfriend thing, I don't know, the combination, I don't know how I would probably have real big trust issues. How do you not have that?
Well, all right. So here's what happened, and I'll be completely transparent. I do have trust issues. Well, I did, like real bad trust issues. And I thought I thought this girl was gonna be my wife. Like she was just, she had my nose wide open, and I didn't party on the weekdays in college. Like I was like, I'm gonna get up early, we're gonna go to the gym, I'm getting my body right for the next game. So and they knew that I went out on Tuesdays and Thursday night, which is, big college party nights. And so and he was and she was like I'm in the bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock. And I guess one party they were just hanging out talking. And another teammate saw her pick him up one late night where he was a bouncer and he seen it and he told me and I confronted him and I was like so messed up, so like traumatized that it happened, right? Angry. Um, but it turned me into a monster where I did the same thing to another teammate. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like, this how everybody was my enemy. And another teammate girlfriend approached me and I did the same thing. And it turned me into a hypocrite. One, it turned me into like not a team leader like I was supposed to be. Where I kind of was the reason why our locker room was divided. And it turned me just selfish. And what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, bitter. I was bitter. And it was a tough time where I was just confused and mad at everyone. And it's the stuff that happens in college that like I tell these type of stories in the book because one, it hits home to me. And I think two, people can learn from them. Right. And so the best thing for me to have done, which I would, if I would have known what I know now, is like, all right, it happened and kind of move on. Right. But I wanted someone else to feel my pain. And man, it's just something that I deeply regret. I talk about it all the time to like my teammates now, because it forced members of the team to kind of choose. And you can feel, how you can feel like the vibes when you walk into a place. Mm-hmm. Every day you walk into that locker room, you can just feel the tension. And it's not how it was supposed to be. And yeah, that's a regret I do have, that I wish I can go back and kind of do it differently.
Hurt people hurt people.
Hurt people. Yeah.
How did you heal?
I didn't. I was drinking and just trying to sleep with other women to make me feel better. I didn't like really heal. Like when I didn't really heal from it until like the whole depression stuff is when, I really had time to reflect and just try to be a better person. But I carried those things for so long. It was a culmination of so many things that led to not just like, my knee injury. It was just so much relationship stuff, friendship stuff. Yeah, it was just so much that I didn't know what I was doing or what I was getting myself into until I look back, right? That I was just carrying it was like me carrying luggage that was, 300-400 pounds. I'm just pulling that luggage. You see people pulling that luggage in the airport. That's how I felt. And it wasn't until I graduated where I had chances to like really apologize and kind of understood how selfish of a person I was. And even now, I can sense when that selfishness comes up, and I try to like get away from it because it was just it was a bad point. It was like one of those sour points in my life that I deeply regret. And I share that because like, man, we do stuff, and I'm not, I'm embarrassed by it, but I'm not ashamed to kind of share it. Right. I've done my dirt. I've been through, and people done dirt to me, but I'm still here to talk about it. I didn't let my anger get to the point where you hear some stories in the news where teammates kill teammates and fight team. It didn't get to that point. But that anger, like, I was just as angry where I could have really like did something if I really wanted to. But I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I'm here to still kind of talk about it and even laugh at it at this point.
Yeah. And we talked about that on the show before too, like mourning losses, not just deaths, but like when you couldn't play football, you need to mourn that. That was your whole life. When you lost that relationship, you need to mourn that. So I feel like we don't talk about that enough because it's like, oh, you shouldn't be drinking and you should just get over it or whatever. But it's like,
Yeah.
no, first of all, I need to drink right now. Like, I need this. I'm not promoting alcoholism, but
Now I get what you're saying.
we have to cope and we have to process those losses. And I think that's an important point, because there are going to be all kinds of losses in our lives. And to just glaze over them and act like we didn't go through that valley that's not realistic. And it's kind of silly.
Yeah. I think too, being able to reflect, like you said, because I feel like sometimes people will go through things and they're like, all right, well, I got through it, but not realize the role or like how they've grown. So being able to look back and be like, no, I was bitter, I was angry, I did my dirt, but like this is where I'm at now, is key, because I don't think a lot of people can do that. It's kind of pointing the finger at like everyone else, but being able to see like, all right, how did I grow and like learn in this scenario?
That's a victim mentality. Like I wanted to play the victim. You know what I mean? I did want to play the victim, but when you do it to somebody else and you kind of see their pain, like I hurt my teammate, man. He was hurt by that, right? Like we almost came to blows like 10 different times because he was so hurt by it. And I kind of seeing his pain was like, man, like it was a reflection of myself. And it's something that even when I apologize, and I apologize to him in the moment, but when you're kind of hurt like that, it's like nothing that I could have said could erase the feeling that he had of not only his girlfriend betraying him, but his teammate. And it's the same way I felt. And it was just it was just a mess. But I did want to play the victim until I was able to see how it actually looked on someone else. And I'm like, man, this is not it.
And victim mentality doesn't allow you to move on. It doesn't allow you to grow. It just keeps you stuck in that space when you don't have any responsibility. So you can just point the finger forever. Don't be a victim mentality.
Yeah. I'm spilling the tea right now. I should be keeping these stories in my tell-all book.
Well, I want to be mindful of your time.
Oh, keep going. Whatever y'all got. I got some time. Whatever y'all got.
But yeah, do you have any questions, Iman?
I guess just the main one for our listeners is, what piece of advice would you give to people that maybe want to be an author, or maybe have one dream and then for whatever reason that's switched and now they have to pursue something else? Like, what's the piece of advice that you would give to?
That's a really good question. The author piece, I would say, guard that tight, right? And what I mean by that is that I told a lot of people, I was like, man, I'm writing a book because I wanted people to be excited. Like, we didn't have any authors like where I grew up at, like definitely like Black, male authors. And the authors that we did have, they kind of wrote like the sizzling romance novels, but something different. And people look at me and like, why do you want to write? Like, you know what I mean? Like, because it wasn't like a popular, cool thing to do. And it almost deterred me from doing it. And I stopped telling people until I was finished with the book. And I was like, all right, this is what I've done. Right. But kind of guard it and be careful who you tell your secrets to until you're ready to really share it with the world. Because people can only see as far as what they can do. And so you tell somebody about writing, like they will give it to you from their perspective. And it can kind of shut you down a little bit. And that's almost what it did to me. I almost stopped writing because so many people was like, okay. It couldn't see my excitement, couldn't feel my excitement I had for it because they couldn't write themselves. The second part, what was the second part again?
So because you talked about like how you had this dream for,
oh yeah, that's right.
And then something happened and you kind of had to reevaluate like what you did with your life. Like someone.
Yep. So if a dream does not come to fruition, right, it's not the end all be all, right? You have to take a step back. My recommendation is to take a step back and really analyze what you learned in that whole process of however long you was chasing that dream. right? Maybe, and know that it's over first, right? There's a difference between chasing a dream and being told no 100 times, but you still can achieve it. But if it's over, like if it's like an athlete who can't really run anymore, then you kind of know it's over. But analyze that and take the pieces that you were able to develop and learn and grow from and apply it, right? It's not a one-off. Like this is, oh, I accomplished this over here. It's so many things that are buried underneath the surface that if you pull them out and put them in your bag, right? Like I said, the hard work, the perseverance, the time management, the ability to be able to lead a group, all those things, put them in the bag, right? And put it on your back, and you can take it with you. You can take it with you wherever you go, and it becomes a part of you, and it can help grow you in that next new endeavor that you have. And so, yeah, that would be my advice.
Love it.
I love that. Yeah. Can you, are you comfortable sharing your next goal with us?
Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah. I have multiple goals. So one, I have to finish. So this is junior year. I gotta tell y'all a fascinating story about this too. This is junior year. I have to do senior year, but then I really want to. I have this goal of it being on Netflix, right? But differently. Like, so freshman year is a 10-part series. That's one season. And then sophomore is a 10-part series. That's season number 2. So it'd be 4 seasons of this novel. And so that is my goal. I don't know who I have to talk to. I don't even know what like production and all that stuff looks like. Or like screenwriting. I can't even fathom how that process is, but that's my goal. I want to take this thing to the screen. I want to be able to be like, man, like it's this average guy who initial dream didn't come, right? And now he just picked up a pen and got some paper and started writing, and now it's on like TV. Like that's my goal. Like I can feel it, but sometimes I'm like, man, how is this gonna happen? Because I'm like so far. I feel like I'm so far away from it, but then I keep coming back to it. Like this is what I want to happen, and I'm gonna take it as far as I possibly can to attain that.
If it's any consolation, I believe it's not unrealistic. I mean, you know that, but it's not that far away. Like, I love hearing that. Okay. Yeah. Got me excited. All right. Anything?
Oh, so can I tell you guys my story?
Oh yeah. Sorry.
I like to tell this because I don't want to miss opportunity. I have a huge platform like you guys are providing. So my novels, I don't have the other 2 books with me. So freshman, sophomore, and junior year. So like I mentioned before, my brother is doing 30 years in prison. And when I was starting the first book, I was telling my brother, like, yeah, I'm writing this book. I was telling him all about it, giving my elevator pitch too. And I was telling him I was working with this artist in New York. And I was saying, man, this artist, like, I got this vision for how I want my book cover to be, but I'm not about to pay all this money. And I don't think he's gonna be able to deliver what I want to deliver. And so every Saturday morning, my brother would call me. I read him chapter 3. He'd call me next Saturday. I read him chapter 4, whatever I worked on that week. Because normally it takes me like maybe a week and a half, a week to really get a good chapter going. And I get to like it's 15 chapters in the book. I think I get to like chapter 11. And he calls me that Saturday morning, and he says, hold on. And he put this guy named Marcus on the phone. And Marcus was like, I heard you writing a book. And you have a vision for a book cover. And he's like, what's the vision? So I tell him, what I wanted to look like. Boom, that and the third. Maybe 2 weeks later, he sends me a drawing. He sends me a drawing. And I was like blown away. And I use Marcus for all of my book covers. But I guess the fascinating part is that when they called me the following Sunday after I received, the first cover, I was thanking Marcus and, asking him how can I compensate him, and just getting to know him a little bit. And Marcus, he'll tell you straight up. He was like, man, yeah, we're doing life without parole. He committed it was a murder. Him and his friends, they were from DC and in Harrisonburg, Virginia, ironically, where I went to school at early 90s or late 90s or something like that. I can't remember. But his friend was like, yo, I know where this drug dealer keep his stash, and I think he's out of town. So they go to the house from DC to Harrisonburg. It's probably like a 2-hour drive from DC to Harrisonburg. And when they get there, and the drug dealer's not out of town. So drug dealer pull out a gun, they pull out a gun, the drug dealer gets shot, and it's a murder. And so he's serving life without parole, but he has this incredible gift that, you know, through me, he still gets to kind of share with the world. And so I never want to miss the opportunity to tell that story, because I think he's phenomenal at what he does, even the limited resources. Just think about if he was out here, what he'll be able to kind of express through his art. But I like to tell that story to my audience. I like to tell that story to kids, because like you can have this phenomenal gift to the world, and you can make a bad decision, and it can have some everlasting consequences to it. Mm-hmm. Right. And so my brother and then, you know, Marcus are reminders of that for me. You know, sometimes you have these wild, crazy thoughts in your head, like, this dude just cut me off on the road. I want to go up to him and knock him out, right? You got to remember, man, there's consequences to every action that you have. Yeah. But it's good consequences too. Like I tell kids, like the times where I'm rambling, but the times where I really wanted something and I put in the work, I put in the work every day. I just worked and I achieved it, right? There's good consequences that come from, you know, putting in the work and doing what you're supposed to do. And so consequences is not necessarily a bad thing, but you got to choose, you know, what action that you're going to put into it.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
All right, that's my last like, yeah, that was it.
For your books though, where can people purchase them and find them?
So the Amazon is probably the number one place, but then my website, www.theathletestudent.com. And the first book is also in Barnes & Noble. So when I was on that high when everything was going good, Barnes & Noble picked up my book. I haven't got a chance to get them to pick up the sophomore year and junior year yet, but hopefully soon. But Amazon or just my website probably is the best, because you can get a signed copy and I can ship it to you directly. But yeah, so theathletestudent.com, and my Instagram is GeneDuke14.
Okay. We'll put all that in the show notes for our listeners.
Absolutely. Do you want to share anything else? Are you good? You feel good?
No, it's up to you guys. Did I give you guys what you need? I was like a boring guest who's going to drop your ratings, your 1,000 followers. Not
at all. Not at all.
We have 1,000 followers at all. Listen, no. We invited you here to talk, so please don't walk away feeling like, oh, I talk too much. That was what we asked you to do.
Well, it's times where, because I do work from home, and it's times where I'm just like not talking to anyone, and so I get carried away when I do have the platform to talk. I start feeling myself just going, because I don't talk a lot. And so when I do, I'm like, I'm gonna get it out. And so I want to be mindful, because this is you guys' show. I don't know what kind of questions you guys had to ask me, but I was just going for like 20 minutes straight. And I'm like, okay, all right, you guys are never gonna invite me back. Then y'all gonna go over like, do not invite this dude, because he's just gonna talk the whole time.
No, we would never do that, even if we felt that way, but I do not feel that way. And I get that, because I work from home too. I've been working home for a long time. And sometimes I'm like, I just need to talk to someone.
Right.
Another human, please.
Opposite issue. I'm like talking all day. And I'm like,
yeah. All right. Thank you, Dr. Holloman, for sharing your time with us and inspiring our listeners to redefine success for themselves.
And of course, thank you, listeners. We could not do this without you. Remember to hit like, comment, and share this episode, and please leave a review. We always want to hear your feedback. You can subscribe at U+Happy on YouTube and also on Instagram.
And we'll see you next week, same time, same place. And we ask our guests to say our tagline, which is, we'll show you our definition of success if you show us yours.
Okay, we'll show you. Oh man, I'm gonna jack this up.
It's long.
We'll show you the definition of success if you show us yours.
Yep, nailed it.
Okay, all right. We'll show you the definition of success if you show us yours.
Good job. Yay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a good one. Have a good one.